this is Jenny from Just Being Me, and you're listening to the Learning to Love Yourself podcast, the show that inspires you to put yourself first.
Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness. Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness.
Welcome, everybody. My name's Jenny Field, and you're here in the Learning to Love Yourself podcast. This week, we're speaking to Georgina Turner, who is a counsellor in a town not too far away from me. And it's quite unusual for me to have somebody that is just down the road because of where we live, isn't it? So, Georgina, introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about who you are.
Thank you. Lovely to be on your podcast, Jenny. My name's Georgina. I'm in Kingsbridge in Devon. And as you say, nobody comes ever down this way unless they're on holiday. So it's great to do something with somebody close by. I'm an integrative counsellor, which means I use lots of different techniques to help people and support them in their goals. And my specialism is neurodiversity, so autism, ADHD, and there's lots of others that people are starting to learn more about, which is great.
So this podcast is specifically about self-care. Was there a moment where you recognised you needed to put self-care into your life?
Yes. So I'm a mum, and often women, particularly mums, don't ever make it onto our own to-do list. So we're busy taking the kids, making sure they have rich experiences, making sure the house is clean, working. And it's like, well, hang on, what about me? So yeah, it's really a struggle to put myself on my own to-do list. And I have a therapist who reminds me to do self-care. And then I also remind my clients to do self-care. So it's a bit of a cascade.
So for you, because, there is this stigma that self-care is a massage and, having a bubble bath. For you, what does self-care look like for you?
It takes many different forms. I've been thinking about this. There's not one particular thing which is my go-to thing. Sometimes I need some creativity. So it would be like ballet. I do online ballet, which is really great. So that's either live or recorded. So I can do that at home and fit it into my schedule. Yeah, it's really nice.
Pilates or yoga, but ballet, that's not something I'd heard of.
Ballet, yeah. I do Pilates as well. But again, it's fitting it into the schedule. The one thing I think I am, and most people in their sort of 30s and 40s, we become really time poor. So trying to fit in an hour Pilates is great. But then you've got to get to the Pilates studio, you've got to come back from the studio, and just those sometimes it can act as a little barrier. So being able to do something I enjoy like ballet and being able to do it online and a class where they take you seriously. They don't go, oh, well, she's an adult and wants to be a ballet dancer. Well, we're just going to mess around and just do a few pliés. But they do take it seriously. They do teach you the technique. And for me, that's part of it is wanting to do something and progress, not just kind of do it at the base level. So for me, that's part of my self-care is seeing some improvement in what I'm doing, not that I'm just doing it and that's it.
And that's very much what we're trying to bring to the fore in this podcast is the fact that everybody's self-care is different. And, I'm guessing for you that actually doing your ballet fills your cup up, enabling you to be a better mum, wife, businesswoman, counsellor, and all of those things. Do you actually notice if you don't do your self-care, do you notice that there's a difference?
Yes. Yeah. And it's sort of okay, I've got to go. I've got to make myself do this. I know I will feel better afterwards. Because there's movement throughout the body. And it's the same with any sport or dancing or, yoga, everything. Because there's that movement of the whole body and also the music as well that she chooses to do the activities too. It kind of, you're allowed to be in your body. We spend so much time in our heads, particularly with computers and work. Just to move and use your body can feel quite freeing. And I come out and go, okay, I feel better now. But the trick is that the hardest bit is going, I know this will make me feel better. I won't skip it. Oh, I'll just do this instead. I almost have to I do put a date in my diary. I make a date with myself because otherwise it will just slip and it will slip. And before you know it, like 4 or 5 weeks have gone past and you haven't done it, or I haven't done it.
And I started walking on a very regular basis on the base. I have my very lovely husband who does all the dog walking because he walks miles and miles and miles. But actually what I now do is take one dog every day that is responsible for me to walk. And there was a day when I couldn't do it. And the next day, wasn't that day, the next day, because I'd been walking regularly, suddenly my head had gone, nope, don't like this. And I really felt that down come in. And you can, if you don't do your self-care, you don't realize you've not done it. You just live in this place. But once you get yourself addicted, because I talk about getting addicted to self-care, once you get yourself addicted after 3 weeks of doing something regularly, you want to go back to do it, don't you? You know, you're big research and, you know, you like to know all the science behind things as against I'm a very practical person. You know, the science behind actually repeating something over and over again until you actually just, your mind and your body requires it to happen. And just the joy of feeling that, just the joy, as you say, there's many other things I do for my self-care. You know, jigsaws is one of them. I'm a big jigsawer. But the walking and being outside and the movement in my body, it's just an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. They say it takes 28 days to create a habit, which is what we do in CBT is we're creating new habits and helping you walk because your brain is effectively lazy and just like to take the easy route, which is the old habits. And when it's like walking along the cliff path in the summer where there's loads of tourists. And what we do in CBT is we go, okay, so that habit's not working for you. So let's find a new one. But it means walking through like longer grass and creating a new pathway. And that's going to take time and you're going to keep forgetting and you've got to keep going back onto that pathway. And so that's the same with self-care. One of the other things I like doing, I love learning stuff. My husband calls me a badge collector because I like doing courses and I like learning stuff, which is why counselling is quite a good career for me because we're always having to learn something, you know, always having to find out about new techniques or new studies and things like that. So I find that helps my brain keep going and keep active just to keep that interest in it alive.
I think it's also when you really enjoy what you do for a job, it's still quite hard to differentiate. Sometimes I find myself and I'm creating something for my job, but because I love it so much and it's inspiring me and I feel, I can feel the energy happening within me. It's part of my self-care, but I do actually have to say, no, Jenny, you need to leave the house and you need to go for a walk because when you work from home, you can get quite trapped into it, We're very lucky where we live and walking is very easy for us to do, isn't it? We can just pop out and go and do that. But it is a matter sometimes of going, okay, actually, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, but I do now need to give myself a bit of a variation rather than just constantly doing the one thing.
Yes. I mean, that is it exactly as you say, because I love learning about people's brains and the different techniques and lots of things like that. It's like, hang on a minute, I do need to put that boundary in place. And when I work with clients across the UK, and sometimes in the summer and the spring, when the seagulls are really quite noisy and you can hear them through the double glazing, people are like, are you by the sea? I can hear seagulls. And then I explain I'm 10 minutes drive from the beach and can go to the beach every day. And they just see how lucky I am. And because you're used to it, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, no, actually I am quite lucky to be able to go to the beach every day and go out and have beautiful countryside.
But I don't know whether it happens for you, but one of the things for me, sharing that with my clients evokes those fabulous, they suddenly feel a warm feeling and they're thinking about, having an ice cream by the seaside or paddling in the water. It brings all those really nice memories for them, knowing that you're, evoking that for them, which is also really nice to do, isn't it?
Those visualizations, because a lot of people come down to our area for holidays. So that's Devon is particularly associated for many people with lots of nostalgia of childhood and long hot summers, isn't it?
Absolutely. So they don't know about the rain that we get then. We're just in a particularly bad rainy period in our particular area, aren't we? We're a bit of a microclimate here. And yes, we've had an awful lot of wet just recently. So Devon does do wet, guys, as well. Tell us a little bit about what it is that you do for your job then.
So I'm a counsellor. I've been counselling since 2017. I've been qualified, and it was through having my own therapy that I was like, I quite like finding out about this. I quite like finding out about the techniques and everything, and did so many one-day courses. In the end, I was like, look, I've either got to train as a counsellor or just completely knock it on the head. So I trained, and I see clients either like we're doing now on Zoom or Skype or whatever, face-to-face or on the phone, to help them. Sometimes people come and they don't have a specific goal in mind. They just know they don't feel very good. And what's great now is people know to get counselling. They don't wait for years and years after something's happened. They come straight away. And then you can help them process any trauma they've got, or help them find new coping mechanisms of stuff that haven't been working for them. My specialism is neurodiversity, as I mentioned. So that comes from my own personal experience of discovering my daughter was autistic. And then as I was researching it, because that's what I do, researching and going, oh, hang on a minute, quite a lot of that applies to me. Right. And then discovering my own neurodiversity. And that has become, ironically, now my hyper-focus. And now I'm doing a master's degree in it. So there is an irony there, but I absolutely love what I do. And the thing is about being a counsellor, and probably about being a coach as well, you're almost trying to do yourself out of a job, because people come to you and they're not feeling scared, and then you help them feel better and they go, thanks, I'm great now, bye.
But there is nothing quite so special for me as that moment where you see, because I speak to all of my clients online, I literally see the light bulb go on. Mm-hmm. And once that light bulb goes on, you know you're on that right journey. You know you're on that right journey. And you know you're on the right journey to being able to say goodbye to them. You know, like children up, really. You just spend your whole time trying to get them into a really good place so they can go off and do it by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's such, I feel such a buzz from it, you know, because after I've been working with somebody for either face-to-face or on the phone or wherever, where I've been working with them, and to look back and see where they start. And then we go through, we give them tools and talk about stuff. And it's not just, so how does that make you feel? You know, I'm not a big one for that. I'm not a big one for like, here's a worksheet, go and fill it in. Here's a worksheet, go and fill it in, which I think is some people's experience of counselling. But to see them grow, to see them gain confidence, to increase their comfort zone, to reduce their anxiety, reduce their panic attacks, be able to leave the house, you know, it's such a buzz. And then they go, do you know, I think I've got everything I need. And I always say, look, if you ever need to come back, even if it's just for one session, but sometimes it's like you're leaving a story and then the story continues. And sometimes I'm like, I wonder how they're getting on. I wonder what they're doing now.
But I mean, in this day and age, it's easier to connect with people, isn't it? Ongoing, because of the fact that there's social media. But you know, a question that I often like to ask my guests is the fact that, you know, do you feel that self-care is even more important because we have this digital world, this instant world, you know, of do, because that's what it all promotes for us, isn't it? And there's this thing of like, you know, you have to work hard and you have to do this and you have to, it's all do. Do you feel that self-care needs to be balanced out with that?
I think so. Yeah. It's the social media. It's a great tool, but I also think that it's a very, what's the word? It can be very demanding, both professionally and personally. And you can get really sucked in. And a lot of people believe the Instagram stories, the filtered photos and everything like that. And there was an example the other day, and it was really brought home to me about how different the reality was in this situation from how they had presented it on Instagram. Yeah. And my children were with me at the time, and I'm not going to say what happened or whatever, but they were really like, oh, okay, so not everything we see on social media is absolutely fabulous. Great. Okay. So that was really interesting to see. So I do think that if you're in sort of the social media public eye, as it were, that being able to look after yourself more. And I think you have to be really, really boundaried with it and go, okay, so I'm not going to reply at this time, because it is a 24/7 thing, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely.
But so
It's, I mean, I spend a lot of my day looking at a computer screen, which is why it's really, really important that I walk away from the computer screen. It's really important that I get myself outside, because we live in these houses now that don't allow any drafts in, and it can be a very stale area, can't it? If we don't get air flowing through it, especially this time of year where you open my back door and everything's going to blow out of here, because I'm on the top of a hill as well. So yesterday, trying to just open the door was a bit of a struggle, and we're just breathing in this air and breathing out this air and breathing in and breathing out. So if you don't go outside, you're just recycling your own oxygen all the time, aren't you? So when you're looking at a screen all day, it's really important to go and find something else to do. I've been very structured in the last 6 months of the fact that actually I have a lunch break for this amount of time. So that allows me to get outside. I have a section in each day whereby I go outside and I walk. And, it's important to step away from the social media of what you're seeing, because your brain's constantly being bombarded with it, isn't it?
And also with the relationships that are formed online, sometimes, with like, you can get a bad review or somebody can put something on there just because like they control you as being a troll. Those things can eventually, you can start overthinking them, and then they go whirring around in your head and spiral, and catastrophizing happens. So being able to go, right, okay, I'm going to walk away from that now and do something which, to quote, what was that, Marie Kondo with her decluttering that gives you joy, sparks joy. I think that's something that we should look at for self-care, because, as I was doing this, I was looking at for this podcast, I was going through and seeing what people were saying about self-care. And it's like, go shopping. It's like, well, no, but doing something which sparks joy, I think should be included on the self-care thing.
For me, when I'm talking with my clients, self-care is anything that fills your cup. If it makes you feel good, that's your self-care, because that's what it's about. You need to fill your cup so that actually you're working with anybody else, you're giving them the overflow, not your cup. And could be as simple as sitting down and doing some colouring, or it could be as big as, hiking up a mountain. Whatever it is that, as you say, sparks your joy, that's what you need to do more of.
Absolutely.
But I think with the recognition through COVID of, a lot of people have more mental health problems since COVID. I think that recognition and recognizing that actually, the analogy when you're on a plane and they say, if something goes wrong and those oxygen masks drop down, you need to put your own mask on first. You need to do your own self-care first. Because the more self-care that you do for you, the better you're going to be able to look after everybody that's around you. And as you started this with the mum bit of how do I find the time? And it's just important. And I talk to a lot of my clients about the fact, do your self-care in front of your kids, because then your kids will just see that as normal. They won't need to be taught how to do self-care because they're just doing it. And I know your daughter dances and dances and dances, doesn't she? And it's like, something that you're doing together, and you've got that conversation to have as well, haven't you?
Yes, I've always wanted my children to make sure they follow their passions, and dancing is a big part of it. She does sometimes when I'm doing my little ballet lessons, and I do use my therapy room as a little quiet space to do it in. She'll come and sit and watch and critique me and tell me that I'm not doing it right. But yeah, she's doing really well. Her other passion that is also one of my self-care things, which I was able to do more of during COVID, is sewing. And she's making a whole costume for herself with like steel boning and corsets, and just take my hat off to her and to all the generation. They just watch a YouTube video and then they can acquire the skill. I watch a YouTube video and go, how do you do that?
Yeah.
So I think that the next generation, they have so much a greater understanding of the importance of self-care, of how important their mental health is, how important, if something happens like a breakup, they'll go and speak to a counsellor the next week to get support then, rather than going through it and then 2-3 years later having the repercussions and things around that have gone into other relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think that personally, I mean, because I do what I do, I always have somebody to talk to every week. Really, it could be every month, but I like to do it every week because why not? Because I think it's important you get that level of support. But I just think everybody should have a place to go that's confidential and talk about what's going on for them, regularly, because it's a really good thing to do, to learn to talk about your feelings, and feel that they are valid, because often we just don't validate our feelings, So I think it's a really good thing. So we're going to put down all the details down below in all of the show notes. That way you can get in contact with Georgina. But, so knowing that you can grab her online, that you can grab her locally. So if you're in our area, you know where she is. Just give her a call. Thank you ever so much, Georgina, for coming to talk to us today. It's been really great chatting to you.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. It's been lovely to see you.
Are you feeling stuck? Do you want to be able to create a better conversation with yourself, but just don't know where to start? I offer a free 20-minute session to see where you want to be and how to get you there. Just click on the link below. Remember, it's free. Book your space. It could change your life. Thanks for listening today. If you'd like to know more, you can find all the links down below. Oh, and don't forget to press subscribe so you can catch the next one. See you soon.